Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Jaded Mechanic Podcast. We're all kind of feeling the turkey famine fest thing that's making everybody a little groggy. So if we have a few slip-ups, it's not the booze. We're going to blame the turkey.
So we're going to turkey.
I'm sitting here with my brother, the rambling mechanic, Mr. Eric Sprague from L&N Performance. See, I'm doing it. L&N Performance at a beautiful Blowing Rock, North Carolina. Brother Eric, how are you, man?
Very good, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
You and I don't touch base as much as we should. I mean, it's little bits here and there, and then the occasional phone call or something like that. But I mean, I've just been, you were kind of joking about your last recording, and it was like I sent you a message. I'm like, I couldn't hear a damn thing you were saying. So you're closer to the microphone today. That's good. So.
Yeah, no, I think we got some of those issues worked out. Working with unfamiliar equipment definitely did not help.
Yeah. It's tough. Everybody thinks like this just is, all I got to do is like comb the beard out and then get on and it just happens. But I mean, I have to thank Braxton for all of the magic that he, makes everything work good. And, it's, we're lucky to have him. So
yeah,
how was Christmas?
Absolutely. It was good. It was very quiet this year. The kids have all aged out. They're doing their thing. So it was just a very low key, quiet day. It was really nice. It was relaxing for once.
Yeah. How was it at the shop leading up to it?
Chaotic.
Yeah.
It always is.
Yeah.
It's always we're full throttle. I mean, we don't really have a slow period, so that's a blessing. It's the problem you want to have, but it's trying to balance getting everything out, getting everything through.
Yeah.
And trying to fight off that, holiday sluggishness that always invariably comes.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it doesn't seem to matter how many times I've been doing this for, working in shops on the 24th for 25 years, right? And there's always either somebody shows up with a tire problem or a brake problem on the 24th. It doesn't seem to matter. And, I always chalked it up to weather. But, I mean, what's your guys been like the weather right before Christmas up there? Are you sitting in a bunch of snow or?
We were right around Thanksgiving, early December. We got drilled pretty hard, and then we were up. It's in the 60s right now, 50s, 60s. So it's pretty nice right now.
Yeah. See, we had a bunch of snow right up until like say the 18th, and then we got not a warm spell. We got a bunch of rain, which I guess is kind of like a warm spell, and it literally like washed all the snow away. And then it got cold again, so we had a bunch of ice, but no snow. And then it just rained. It snowed on the 27th, and we got a bunch of snow. But we had a green Christmas, which everybody is like, the old people up here think that's a real bad omen, right? They say that used to say green Christmas led to a fat graveyard in the spring. So, I don't know if there's truth to that or not, but that's my, I had my post there on the 24th or 23rd where I was talking about the tire blowout and that young girl, and I was, disabling the TPMS on the car. I wasn't disabling it. It was disabled. And the of all the threads to do for the Jaded Mechanic in 2025, that sucker blew up at a rate that was unbelievable. Like it had 100 comments, and I think in 2 hours, Eric. Like it was nuts.
Oh wow!
Like it was ridiculous. But on all three profiles linked together, it was nuts. It was like 100 comments, and it's so funny. Being in multi-geographical, we've gone international here. People are talking about, well, listen, in Canada, like you can pass the car as a safety with the tire light on. I go, I realize that. I don't personally. Somebody else can sign that safety for that. I don't, because it's, to me, I don't care what our Canadian government, which you all know how I love and respect the Canadian government. It's another thing that they've gotten wrong. So for me, like, if I have to sign a car for safety and it has a TPMS light on, it has to be fixed. And I've had to put 4 sensors in a car because we sold it with an aftermarket set of rims on it, and the TPMS was disabled because there's no sensors. I'm not kidding when everybody says, when it's like, we can buy those sensors for $27 a piece.
Yeah.
So to me, the idea that we're disabling a system, and then you get into the whole thing, Eric, of like, well, it's not really disabled. What do you think about that?
Bypass, disabled. I mean, is there a difference?
Automotive started because a couple industry friends and I were hanging out And we realized that the number one challenge all the shops that we worked with for many decades faced was finding technicians. You hear technician shortage over and over out there, and we're not bringing kids into the industry today, and there's thankfully lots of other companies out there who do focus on that. But we believe that part of the technician shortage is the leakage coming out of the funnel. The people that are working with shops or dealers that aren't treating them right, they're just paired with the wrong environment, with the wrong owners. The technicians, instead of looking for new jobs and new opportunities, decide to leave the industry, or they get jaded on it. And we believe that there's a fit out there for the right techs with the right shops. And if we do that, then they're going to stay in the industry, and we're going to help, at the end of the day, the shortage by keeping technicians in the field. Promotive started just by realizing there's really not that many resources for technicians. Of course, there's certifications that they can get, and they can advance their skill set by doing hands-on training, or they can advance their skill set by testing, but there's not that many companies out there focused on making the technicians more successful in other areas. For example, knowing what their career path can be if they don't want to stay as a technician in the future.
Yeah.
You know, something's designed to work a certain way. If you're altering that, you're bypassing, you're disabling its intent.
Yeah. For me,
You know,
if the system's designed to give you 4 pictures on this cluster with 4 pressure readings, and all of a sudden you have 4 lines through where the pressure reading should be, that's disabled. It's not enabled. It's not doing, somebody says, well, now it's doing what it's supposed to do because it's telling the customer that the tire's low. No, it's not. It doesn't tell them that it's low. It tells them that that sensor doesn't work.
Yeah. Is that any different than putting an O2 spacer in to kill a cat code?
Exactly. Right.
I mean, there's no difference. It's just, you know, potato, tomato.
Yeah.
There's no, you're disabling something that's there to give the driver information.
Yeah. And I try not to make customers cry at Christmas. And, you know, she did get a little teary, but I don't think she cried, because it's like, you've heard me talk. When I start talking, it just sounds like I'm lecturing. I'm not. It's just blunt to the point, so you understand. You don't have to ask me a million questions to understand. And I said to her, I said, well, where did you get these tires? Oh, we bought them on Facebook Marketplace. You know, okay, cool. Well, they're a 2013 build date tire. So firstly, like, I'm sorry you paid money for essentially scrap tires, but that's what you got. Secondly, because, you know, your rims that you got with the tires, which, hey, I applaud you for getting a winter tire package, rim and everything, because that's better than ripping the tire on and off twice a year. I said, somebody, for the sake of saving $100, disabled your safety system, because she had a blowout at almost 70 miles an hour in the left-hand lane.
Ooh.
So on the left front,
That's
blowout, left-hand lane, 100, you know, almost 70 miles an hour. She panicked, didn't try to get over to the right shoulder, Eric. She stayed in the left shoulder and went over even more, which is like, so you know where I'm going with this. You're jacking the car up on the left side shoulder on the left-hand embankment to get the tire off. You're lucky the fucking thing didn't roll over into the embankment, right? For somebody that's never jacked a car up in their life, you know?
Well, lucky it didn't come off, lucky you didn't get hit. I mean, it's, you know, left lane is mock Jesus. That's as fast as the car is going to go, realistically.
Yeah, up here, especially in that stretch that it happened, that they're well known to drive. Like, I'll drive 80 miles an hour down through that stretch all the time, because there's never a cop in that stretch between those kind of some of the exits in my area. Now the weather probably has got some people slowing down, but she was not kidding when she said she was doing 105, which is like 64 miles an hour, right? As soon as she's being honest, she's probably lying a little bit. She was probably doing close to 70. And I'm just like, and I said to her, so because somebody, and I kind of took over the conversation. The service advisor's standing right there, and Mike's a great guy, but he doesn't really get involved too much when I start talking, because, you know, there's really no point. And so what I had done by the time I was done, I said, listen, so, you know, we'll call her April. I said, or Charlotte's her name. Charlotte, for the sake of argument, here's the reality of what you now need to be budgeting for is you need to be budgeting for 4 new snow tires and 4 tire pressure sensors. Well, how much is that going to cost? Probably $1,000, probably by the time you're done, you know, like,
yeah.
It depends on the quality of tire you want to buy, right? Like, we're talking a 2018 Nissan Rogue here. So, you know, not They're not super expensive, but I mean, a good snow tire up here is well over $100 now per tire, which, you know, you and I were buying them for $50 a tire, right? Like,
you know, honestly, I have no idea anymore. I don't deal with that side of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, you get what you pay for, definitely. If you get crap tires, they're not going to last. They're not, you know, EVs, we're seeing that a ton. You know, even EV rated tires, if they get 10, 15,000 miles out of them, you want to give them a medal.
Most automotive conferences, unfortunately, only focus on one side of the shop. But Tectonic 2026, presented by TechMetric, is different. It's built for the whole shop. Owners, advisors, and technicians all have sessions designed for the work they actually do day to day. It's 3 days in Houston, packed with workshops, panels, and over 1,000 people from the industry are set to attend. And you don't need to be a TechMetric customer to qualify. Hit up the link in the show notes below and check out Tectonic 2026. Register now while you still can to get the early bird pricing. Yeah.
it's insane. You know, when you start putting 10 plies on, you know, Model 3s.
Yeah. So if a customer comes into L&N, you guys don't like, and they want to buy, you know, a snow tire package, which you guys do some snow tires in Long Rock because you guys get some snow.
Oh yeah.
What's the policy there? Like, will you go ahead and just put them in without sensors, or do you kind of just let that, you know?
So we'll if they have a sensor problem, you know, we don't do a lot of tire wheel packages. We'll do the rubber. But if they have sensor issues, we sell them with the sensors. With the rebuild kits, with the stems and the components.
Yeah.
If they're not serviceable, if the batteries are testing out weak, then we're putting sensors on there.
Yeah.
But we'll generally include them. If there are system faults, obviously, if we have working sensors and a system fault, then we're going to go into the system itself and let them know, look, we need to look into this. But we're never going to ignore it being on.
Yeah.
We'll give them the opportunity to say they don't want to do X, but we're always going to let them know about it. I mean, we're going to disclose everything we find about the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you've seen our inspection process. It's thorough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no miscommunication by the time you guys are done about what the customer is expecting and what they want and what's actually being performed, right? Like, and that's where a lot of the conversation for me is, because it's like sometimes you've got somebody speaking to the customer about, just as an example, again, TPMS, and sometimes they don't even really know what they're like enough about how the system works and what it actually means to the car to be able to have the conversation. Somebody left me a message. And a mutual friend of ours, and he's like, they don't understand. You're going to see cars that now when the TPMS light's on or the system is in some kind of fault, you're going to see where they're going to limit road speed, going to limit throttle, going to limit all kinds of stuff, to where now they're going to tie it in so you won't be able to drive the car. And everybody's like, oh, it's getting to be such a nanny state thing. And of course, like, you know, as a Canadian, I can certainly relate to the idea that I don't want any more nanny state. But to me, it was just the whole conversation of like, you couldn't sell, you know, 4 Autel universal sensors for under $100 and put them in a car and make it work. All that fee, I'm just like, you've got the wrong clientele in your shop if they can't find another $100. So, you know, I caught some flack for that. So,
but it's true though. You know, these systems, I agree. I think some of them get abused by manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, stuff like TPMS, ADAS, the telematics, the connected vehicle stuff, it's about, at the end of the day, it's about safety.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, these systems are implemented because, quite frankly, a lot of people on the road have proven they probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know, you're driving around with your cell phone like this and you rear end somebody. Thank you, automated emergency braking.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, it makes me, it's frustrating because I'm in a lot of groups that are not directly tech related, a lot of Subaru groups, a lot of other, you know, things like that. Just they're enthusiast groups. If I can help out, I do, but I'm an enthusiast.
Yeah.
You know, I drive a Subaru. I want to figure out what's going to break next.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from the head gaskets, but, you know, I look at some of the comments in there and it's like, oh my God, are you people serious? Like you want Bluetooth, you want CarPlay, you want this, you want that. That all takes technology getting dumped into the car.
Yeah.
And we just went from a $30,000 Impreza to a $50,000 Impreza. I mean, where do you think that comes from? We're not going to trim back.
No. And that's the thing now. You could see it where, and you know, Lucas has talked about some of the cars that could hit, you know, necessarily the North American market, right? Being built in, you know, foreign that if they hit here, they would really turn the market upside down with how they could actually put a functioning car in the showroom for such a low price. But then you see the other detractors in this thing that are going, listen, it won't matter. If you can't sell it with Uconnect and everything else, the clientele is not going to buy it. And, they're not wrong either. Because some people, it's like, if it's really difficult to get my phone to link to this used car that I'm looking at buying, I'm not buying that used car. And I'm like, oh my God. So you wouldn't buy a Toyota or a Honda, right? But you're going to go buy that. I'll just throw words out, Kia, because your phone links up to it really cool. Like, come on.
Well, you got to have something to do while you're sitting there waiting for the tow truck.
That's right. Yeah. But
I think companies like BYD, and I know that's a big one. We saw a few of those when we were down in Texas for the F1 race. There were 5 or 6 BYD EVs running around.
Right.
Dude, they don't look like crap cars. They look really nice.
Yeah.
It made it at least 6 miles on a charge, because that's how far we had to go to Dakota. So, I mean, what more can you ask for? It's better than a Leaf.
Yeah. Well, that's, oh man. We had a customer buy a Leaf from our shop, from the lot, and then they had it a month and they want to bring it back. And it's like, sorry, because what do you? Well, I had to immediately take it over to the dealer and the battery. Yeah, I understand. That's why it was traded. Like, that's exactly. Let me reiterate that we don't know why it was traded, but it's probably why it was at the auction where it was came from. Because if you'd have drove up and said, I want to sell you this EV Leaf, they would have went and got Jeff and be like, Jeff, what do you think of this? This customer wants to sell an EV Leaf. And I'm like, I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't buy it because I know what Leafs are like. They're not, as far as just buy a Prius, don't buy a Leaf, just buy a Prius or anything else. Just don't buy a Leaf. Don't buy a Nissan EV. Don't buy a Nissan period, but don't buy a Nissan EV. Please don't. They have no range. They were so problematic.
I think realistically, hybrid is where we're headed.
Yeah.
Long term, it's sustainable.
Yeah.
I have a friend in Colorado. He's cracking me up every time we talk because of some of the stuff they're trying to do out there. So Colorado is pushing really hard for EV.
Yeah.
They do not have safety inspections in Colorado. They will put every car on the dyno, but they don't have a safety inspection. But they're trying to push all new construction fully electric, no natural gas furnaces, no gas anything. It's like, what the hell do you do? I grew up in Georgetown, Colorado. That's 70 miles into the Rockies. What the hell are you doing? How much electric are you running out there? That's going to survive winter up there.
Yeah. Look out over the mountainside and see. Do you see a bunch of power lines running up there? No.
It's insane. But they're pushing for EVs. It's like, what the hell are you going to do? You already can't keep the grid alive in summer with AC.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do when it's 30 below in winter with all electric heating?
Yeah.
Plus EV charging, plus all this other crap. Wow. Really? Get real.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, solar or wind. I guess you get some wind in Colorado, but
not that much.
Yeah.
No. It's laughable.
Yeah. Yeah. My government by 2035 wants to have no ice being sold. You know what I mean? In Canada, that's their long-term goal. Now they keep pushing it back, and it could be, now they're saying 2040, and that's all. But right down the road from me, I say right down the road, 3 miles from my house, they took a whole bunch of essentially natural green space, bulldozed it, trucked in, I don't know how many, 30 tons of gravel and fill to level all out because they were going to build an EV battery factory. And then once our prime minister changed up here, which didn't change the party, just changed the prime minister, all of a sudden all the funding for that project just went away. And now it's sitting there as just this giant field with a layer of gravel on it. Nothing there, nothing being done. Brand new fence built around it, the whole thing. And everybody's just like, what happened? I thought, well, let's think about this, right? If the project can't fund itself without government funding, financially, it's not that fiscally responsible. And
how's the ice road going to work with EV semis?
Yeah.
I seem to recall there's some range limitations once you get super cold like that. How's the ice road going to work? That's critical up there to the northern infrastructure, as I understand it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And everybody thinks, well, it's just delivering groceries. Yes, it's delivering groceries, but the main thing is, like, if those trucks can't get the ore, the diamonds, the oil out of the north down into the spots where we can use it, it all shuts down. Like it's not that the community doesn't have groceries to eat. There is no community. Like, those are communities that are literally up there only for mining. And they go across the ice, they deliver whatever needs to be done, but it's all that stuff coming back. It's the infrastructure. It's the same as out in Fort Mac, in Alberta. It's the same thing. It's almost the same kind of climate, except that they're not crossing giant lakes to get there, but they are going out of Fort Mac, going north up to Yukon, Nunavut, all these, Ecolot, all that kind of stuff. If those infrastructure shuts down, because all of a sudden everybody says it has to be an electronic truck that delivers it, everybody's like, nah, shut down that industry, then we're not happening. And you've seen Edison Motors. Like, if you really delve into what's happening in Edison Motors, those are the guys that are retrofitting all those older, were older trucks into full EV trucks. Well, they're not full EV, they're full hybrid, right?
Okay.
They're getting every pushback that they can from our government. They're getting almost no funding from our government, and every kind of obstacle in the world about trying to make them legal for sale right now in Canada. It's disgusting what our own government's doing to them. So it's got zero to do with, environmental and everything to do with money, everything to do with it. So,
wind turbines are nothing but scrap after they end their life cycle. They're not recyclable. You can't reclaim crap out of those.
I live in the one of the most populated areas for wind generation right now in Canada, right along my corridor, the St. Lawrence River along Lake Ontario, and you wouldn't believe the amount of them that are sitting there spinning right now, the blades turning around, and there's no power being produced off of them, because after about 20 years, when the armature starts to go, nobody goes up in there and restores it, because it fiscally just doesn't make sense to. They're all built with funding. They go up, and after the 20, 25-year life cycle of them, they're just standing there making noise. That's all they're doing. They're not creating any power for the grid. So
such a waste.
It is.
Such a waste.
Everybody thinks it's awesome. I'm going to get on the ferry with my Prius, and I'm going to go over there and plug in, and I'm going to feel like I'm in my own little world, because I'm living on Amherst Island or Wolf Island, and I plug my Prius in, and my generator, the wind chime charges my electric car, and you're like, you are a loser.
Yeah. It's getting powered from the nuke down the street.
Yeah. How's yours? Can I say you're dipping your toe into the online content creation? How's that been going for you?
It's been fun. It's been challenging. I never appreciated how much goes into it.
Yeah.
I've had the benefit of watching Lucas kind of build the podcast. It was very young when I came down to work for him, so I've kind of watched that grow. But oh my god, the amount of I got my first my first hate message. That made me really happy. I guess that means I've made it now.
Yes, you have.
Yeah. But it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. Getting to do stuff like this. The solo videos are fun. This is so much more engaging. It's a lot more. It's a lot more fun to do from this side of it. I love the fact that I do get a lot of positive feedback. It's really nice to hear there are people that actually get something out of it, which is the whole point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing for me, right? Like, you get those messages where it's like, you can have I know you do, you have them, and you have an ass kicker of a day, right? And you feel like everything you touched went sideways or didn't get done, or didn't go the way you wanted, and then somebody reaches out to you in a message and says, thanks, dude, like, I don't feel like I'm on an island after I hear your weekly rant or your weekly podcast, right? And that's a heavy, dude. Like, it's really cool to be able to, like, uplift the younger people especially. But I get people older than me, our age, that say, like, I've been doing this 20 years and I've hated it for the last 15, and now I kind of understand what I need to do to go into the next portion of my career, how I can do it with a better attitude and a better outlook. And they thank you for that. And it's like, I'm not doing anything special. I'm just having a conversation, like, I don't think we're not bringing the magic, secret sauce to this by any stretch, are we? We're just
no, but we're bringing it to the surface. I mean, I was there. Lucas got me reinvigorated in this. I was ready to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much that is unspoken in this. There's so many things that are just so taboo. You can't talk about them. You can't bring them up. No, that needs to stop. We have a tech shortage because we don't acknowledge these things and we don't do anything about them.
Yeah. Now,
We
give me some
have,
examples of that, because like I kind of know some of them, but like share some of that with me. What you think is where we really need to delve in further between, in the industry to get some of it brought to the surface.
oh man. So culture, I think, is probably the single biggest killer. When I came into this, and I'm sure it was the same when you came into this, it was hard knocks. Everything was mess around, find out.
Yeah.
And that was everything that we did. Was you figure it out. If I mean, service info wasn't really a big thing. You kind of look at it, you figure out how it comes apart. I mean, I wasn't diagnosing it, I was being told what parts to change, but you figure out how it comes apart. You figure out what went flying. You go find the stuff that flew out of it because you didn't know how it was put together. You put it back together and you kind of work your way through it.
Yeah.
We didn't have the levels of integration and complexity that we do now. They were mechanical systems. They were doing electrical or electronic things, but they were mechanical systems.
Yeah.
We're not evolving with, the next generation coming in. They're not getting the nurturing that they need. And I'm not talking touchy feely,
No.
huggy stuff, but you have young, absorbent minds coming into this. They need to be nurtured. That needs to be fed. It's a
Yeah.
sponge. Treat it like an attorney. Throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, and then run with it.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, you've got,
and I've talked so many times, like, I mean, it's everybody says the young people don't want to try anything, but I mean, like, I equate it a lot. Like, people have heard me talk about like trying to pull a door panel off or a liftgate panel off, right? Like, there's so many things that if you don't like, and the service information is not always really clear, and people are knowing like, well, what more do you need to know? I want like a diagram that shows me where the screws are. I'm that way. Show me so that I know how many there are and I get them all out
before I rip the panel off.
right, because then it's like, hey, I'm going towards this door latch, switch that I need to test power and ground at, right? And I'm trying to pull this panel off, and we just broke a $300 panel. There's not $300 profit there, right? But these people that write the service information, they're not getting to that next level, I feel, in detail that the young people, the way their brains work, they need. So everybody laughs if they pull their phone out and they start looking at a YouTube video of somebody showing it to them. We immediately laugh at them and tell them that's ridiculous and it's crazy and how dare they sit there on their phone. And I'm going, he's trying to prevent from breaking something. And then he's trying to, understand better how to do this, like.
Oh, my process with the new guys, with when I have a trainee or even the guys I have in the shop now, I mean, I mentor to varying degrees, all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, my first thing is check service info. If you can't find it there, Google it.
Yep.
I mean, I don't care if it's YouTube, Instagram, as long as it doesn't involve tannerite removing the panel. I don't care.
Yeah.
In some cases, that's fine too. But yeah, I mean, the service info. Now, I will say I get a good mix of OE and aftermarket service info. I have been very burned by that one line at a page break that doesn't make it over to All Data or Identifix.
Yeah.
I had I think I talked to you on it, a Cadillac eating up brakes. There was one step in the reset for the EHCU that was not an All Data, that was in TIS.
Yeah.
Which is shocking because I mean, you've used GM TIS. That is not a that can be challenging. It's easy to find stuff once you know it, but like everything else, once you're familiar with it, it's easy.
Yeah.
I love Vista. It's easy as hell to use. There are some guys in this industry that you put them in front of Vista, they're going to drool. And it's not intuitive. It's not meant to be user friendly. But once you know how to use it, it's an insanely powerful tool.
Yeah.
But it gives you all of those things. It gives you all the teardown steps, literally page by page. It gives you very detailed parts diagrams that All Data simply does not have.
Yeah.
And I get really pissed off with All Data. I think I actually did a video about, providing proper info and support.
Yep.
ISTA, the actual scan tool, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in it. Air is the service info.
Okay.
Does not require you to be connected to the car.
Yeah.
Everything is there. So it's like, don't tell me that it's not available without the scan tool. That's BS.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm paying you for service info. Give me accurate information.
Yeah.
But there's so much of it. There's so much raw information we need to fix a vehicle now. It's insane.
Yeah.
I started in IT. That was my path after the military didn't work out. I feel like that is more useful now than it would be if I was still working in IT.
And you make an interesting point when you talk about the military, because I know some techs that have worked in the military. A good friend of mine actually, and the way they approach the job, like, you don't walk out to the machine without the service manual under your arm, under any situation, under any circumstance ever, unless you're probably being shot at, where they allow you to actually put a tool at it without, because it is just, it's part of it. They treat it like it's aviation, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Chevy truck that they're putting brakes on. You walk out there with your service manual. You know what I mean? And they're doing it. It's just, so there's no speed thought, got to get this done fast and hurry up. It's all about following the process. And I think that, like, Sherwood Cook and I had a conversation just the other day, and, Eric, the car guy, and I kind of talked about the same thing. We have to get back to this idea of craftsmanship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're an actual craftsman and what you're trying to do, not just an installer, but an actual craftsman, somebody who, because I hate that old adage of it's like being a doctor. It's not like being a doctor at all. It is
we can turn ours off.
Yeah. The patient's not as fun to talk to. Like, you don't have as good as stories when it's all done. Like, you just don't. And, when we keep saying it, it's, you got to go back to, like, this is the way they used to build, cabinetry or mason work or so. We have to approach it to that level of detail now, I think, and is if we want the young people to get it, because they're not getting it. They're not. We're running them out of them so fast, and they show this little bit of glimmer, and then it's like, I don't know if it's they get handed a paycheck or they get handed a tool bill or what, and it's just like they go, man, I really enjoy this, but it's just like I can't see a future in it, And you and I came through that tougher time, I think, when you said it was like, it was sink or swim or figure it out, but. And we managed to, not because we were tougher, but because it was just simpler stuff. It was simpler tech. I can remember, like, I could take a lot of a Dodge product apart. I could take a lot of it apart, trying something or checking something real quick without having to go to the service information. It was just almost like it seemed more intuitive and more natural. Now, like, look at how you do a window regulator in some of these modern cars. Like, it's just, it's nuts. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, it just... I feel for these kids, because door latch recalls, like, you see what it takes to put a door latch in a modern car, and you're like, this is so friggin' stupid,
Well, and that's the other thing where I think a lot of us older guys are failing. If they show interest in something, run with it.
Yeah.
Run with it and segue it into other stuff. I had a kid, great kid. I really miss him. Really interested in Dodge diesels because he drove one.
Right.
Okay, so we'll start there, because I'm learning with you, because I know it's 6 cylinders and they're in line, and there's a turbo on the right side of it.
Yeah.
That's about as much as I know about them. So we're going to learn it together. And we did. We went through a lot of stuff. We learned, I taught him how to program on that after he bricked it, bricked his PCM. But we have the old school thought where you start with busting rubber, you start with lube oil change.
Yeah.
That needs to go.
Yeah.
We start with electrical. I start every one in my shop. They all start with standard enter.
Yeah.
They get the book, they get a sub, and they are assigned videos to watch. And then we talk about the videos.
Mm-hmm.
We have to start with electricity, because if you don't start with electrical, you're not going to get anywhere, even with brakes.
I know. I know. I talk to so many guys now, and it's just like the electronic parking brake thing, just as like it, or and it's in one of my threads, somebody's like, oh, what, like all the old days we used to say that the big argument was you crack the bleeder when you push the piston back or not, and I'm like, it's got nothing to do anymore with whether you're pushing dirt up into there or not. It's got everything to do with what's it going to do to the module if you don't take the cap off. You know what I mean? And we used to laugh at people that said, oh, you got to take the cap off or else you're going to. No, you're going to take the cap off now or you are going to cause a problem with the module. It's just a given.
Yeah.
And if you think you're not, it's like a shop owner friend I know, he does not use any of the service steps when I last talked to him to put any of the EPB into service mode. He grabs his power probe and he goes back there and he's like, listen, it's worked for me for 5 years. I've done it on every car. And I go,
until it doesn't.
Until it doesn't, that scares the hell out of me. I'll do it on the Euro. Like I was going to say, I'll do it on everything but the Euro stuff. The Euro stuff, it's like,
I just about had a reaction.
Yeah.
No, I think there's you get away with it till you don't. It's like anything else. I have a power probe. I use it very sparingly.
Yeah.
I have other ways to test that don't require it, but all it takes is one press in the wrong place. I think in the past couple of years, I think I've probably replaced 15 modules because a power probe was used where it shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Even just simple screw ups. You're going to check a ground circuit, you load it up with a light bulb on it, and whoops, touch the wrong pin and let all the magic smoke out. And I haven't figured out how to put it back in yet.
No, it's.
I think. No, go ahead.
It's something that I think is like, you would want to teach them how to do it with the safety, with the service information first, and then be able to show them, the shortcut or the alternative method, I guess you could say, right? If somebody was like, hey, if you want to do this real quick and, you only had one tool and the tool is being used for something and, you had to get it done, here's how you could do it. But always with that caveat of, but really we shouldn't do it that way if we can avoid it, do it the way.
Always start the proper way. Always start. It does two things. It shows them the correct way to do it. It also builds the habit of checking service info every time and learning the correct way to do it and learning what the caveats are.
Yeah.
Filling up brake fluid. I want to fire people when I see them fill up brake fluid. It's like, you're disabling a safety system. Right back to that.
Right. Yeah.
Like if the light's on, it's not because the fluid evaporated. There is a problem. Something's worn out. Something's leaking.
Yeah. It used to be every couple of days in the quick lube, the advisor would come back and the car would be on the quick lube out in the front next to the advisor's desks, right? There was a drive on quick lube bay. And he'd say, I need some brake fluid to put in this car. The light's on and the customer's like, here for an oil change. I'm like, no, you need to send that to the back. Well, no, they don't have time to do it today. Oh my God. Are we even having a conversation with the customer what this really means right now, right? Because you and I know there's more than 50% wear there if the light's on. Like that's a substantial amount of fluid has now gone, into the outer realm with a caliper. Like we probably should have at least.
Or something yeeted itself and it's all over the road.
Right. Yeah. And some customers, like the way they drive. My mother could roll a brake blind and I bet you she wouldn't even know. Because she's so light on the brake pedal. She's a type, Eric, like, when she sees the car way off in the distance slowing down, she's getting off the gas. You know what I mean? Like she coasts up most of the time, just not putting the brake on.
Yeah. Do you follow NASCAR at all? That's kind of how my mom drives.
That's how
I love my mom, but that woman is hard on vehicles.
Yeah.
I think every accident I've been involved in, I was in the car and she was driving.
Oh.
On the bright side, though, I got to say, Mom, I know you're going to watch this. It wasn't your fault. I promise it wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's little stupid things like that. Those little things that we were always told were okay. I mean, I was encouraged to fill up every fluid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not, and it never registered that, hey, if the fluid's low, oil doesn't evaporate. There's a problem there. There's a reason it's low.
What drives me nuts is when I work for some people sometimes and they say, like, the car's in for an oil change and it's got a transmission that doesn't use a dipstick, and checking the fluid levels a rather, involved process, right? Involving a scan tool and a temperature and a test drive and all that kind of stuff. And the customer will say, well, what's the transmission fluid like? And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, it drove in here. Like, it's not shifting, funny. Like, oh, well, did you check it? Nope. Well, why didn't you check it? Because it doesn't have a dipstick, and to check it is about a 30-minute process. Did you want to pay extra for that? And that's just the way I talk. And then the advisor or the shop owner look at me like I'm crazy. Okay, we'll go out and check that fluid level.
See you in an hour.
Yeah, and see, in an hour is fine. I don't mind doing that. But it was like when somebody would say, okay, well, what are we charging for that? Well, why do we have to charge them? Because it's an actual process and a procedure, and has a timestamp related to that. Let's show the efficiency in production where it's supposed to be. Everybody goes, oh, just do it this time. Like same as just add the brake fluid to it this time. Like no. Let's follow the process. Let's do it the right way.
Oh, you look at a 10R or a 6R, you're 190 to 215.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to remove all of the hair off your forearms, getting the dipstick tube out because it's right up against the bank one cat.
Oh, yes.
It's and you've got such a narrow window. The dipstick is 50-50 going to pop because they're made of, some sort of really, we'll call it low quality plastic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a composite. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
Yeah, we can't say plastic.
But yeah, it's, there's such a lack of understanding about so many things. And then we bring, some shops will bring these kids in and throw them to the wolves and wonder why they get so disgusted.
Yeah. Or they'll freak out because that customer waited now an hour and 20 minutes for what we told them was only going to be half an hour oil change. Right.
Yeah.
As we didn't convey the expectation of the customer. It's like, sure, we can check that for you. But it now is going to add, double the time to your. And I know somebody's going to go, double the time. We're talking around numbers here, people. Like, I know you probably checked in 7 minutes and you're the best tech ever. But, we're being realistic with the young people here. Like, if there's now a process that takes a mentor to go out, show them, okay, this is what the scan tool is going to have to read. This is the process. Here's your 2 pages that we're going to print off. It's like, you remember Brian's video where he talked about actually like servicing the fluid in the CVT and a Nissan. It's a lot more involved than everybody thinks. Like it's fill it, drain it out, fill it again. That's the right way to do it. And I remember seeing that from the dealer, and it was that's the right way to do it. But Brian's like 95% of the people get that wrong. They do. They don't read the second half. It's like that. You've seen that bulletin from Ford. It's in Brian's class. He talks about when it's got catalyst faults on the trucks. And, you've seen this. You're nodding your head. You're going, yeah, I know. Because you read that bulletin. It says like, okay, Art, you're thinking, I got to order all these parts and putting cats in it. No, there's a whole process to that that's supposed to be done.
Yep.
And then you have to essentially, interrogate the truck to a level to know whether it's going to come back or not. And then maybe you order parts, I saw so many shop owners. It's like you print the TSB off and you show them the bulletin and they go, oh, so I got to order all those parts. No, you got to read through the bulletin and understand what the next steps. This is going to be a 2-3 hour process with this truck. Like, is the customer, what do they want to do? Oh, they just were wondering if it was going to take to get the light out. Well, first step is this, that's your first step in your diagnosis. Well, it's 3 hours. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a lot of driving.
3 hours.
Yeah. That's the frustrating thing for me is we're not. And, people talk about, Eric, like it's leadership, and culture, right? Those are the 2 buzzwords. But it's so much of this is like, how do we become more effective at communicating? Because I know like you're good at it. I'm not so much good at communicating with my advisor, right? Like I'm not good at it. You're better
at AI now. I use AI now. So our counter is very unique.
Mm-hmm.
The ladies we have up there are excellent at what they do, but they are not tech-minded people.
Right.
We didn't necessarily want tech-minded people up there.
Yeah.
My Jade, she is definitely very upfront. If she doesn't understand a write-up, she's out there asking me about it. And when they come out and ask me about it, all that tells me I need to do a better job on the write-up.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas, in his infinite brilliance, came out and said, hey, dude, why don't you try using AI to write that and simplify it? I'm like, maybe that could work. And it's worked out phenomenally well.
Excellent.
You've seen my write-ups. They are heavy meds. I mean, they're Valium.
Thorough.
There is much for me. So if something comes back 6 months later or I'm wrong,
mm-hmm.
I can go back and analyze where I screwed up. I am very willing to rip my estimates to pieces to figure out where I screwed up.
Yeah.
But I know it was done. I know it was tested. I know where to start looking if I created a problem, and it happens. You stick something in a little too far and you open it up too much, and now it's not making good contact where you didn't have an issue before.
Yeah.
But being able to communicate that, yeah, absolutely, communication is critical. And it's got to be an open door. It's got to go both ways, but the other big part of communication, there has to be trust.
Right.
My writers have to trust that if they come out and they ask me about something, I'm not going to fly off the handle.
Yeah.
If I'm laying over a car setting a chain on and they're asking me about a write up from 3 days ago, I'm
Mhm.
probably going to look at them, chuckle, and yeah, when I get there, I'll get there.
Yeah.
I'm going to prioritize it, but I'm not going to stop a critical process to go look at something. But there has to be trust that they know I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to get them the answers they need, or whatever it is. There's got to be trust that it's not going to be a pissing contest of, you don't understand it, that's not my problem.
Mhm.
And that's having, we joke about safe spaces and all that. It's got to be real. I mean, it's got to be completely real. Not in the sense that I'm going to hold your hand through this, but, if you have a question, just ask it. It's cheaper if you ask the question now than you ask it later.
Mhm. Now, I don't want to get too personal, but L&N kind of for the last year, like you guys had some obstacles, right? Kind of some changes went through, and did you feel comfortable talking about that, or?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we expanded. We moved into a new shop about 2 years ago. We've had some expansion growing pains, I guess would be the right way to say it. The biggest thing we've always struggled with, I've been here 6 years now.
Yeah.
The biggest thing we've always struggled with has been people that fit the culture. Our culture is, I think, unique is a fair word for it.
Not like nothing. Not even close. Not even close.
So we're everybody says it's like a family. We legitimately are. Lucas is one of my best friends on the planet.
Yeah.
And it goes both ways. If I need something, he's there. If he needs something, I'm there. It's the entire crew. Everybody, we've gone through a lot of struggles together. We are incredibly close. Finding people that fit that is challenging.
Yeah.
Everybody says they're like a family, but 99% of the shops, they're promising the moon and they're going to give you a pile of sand off some shitty radiated beach somewhere.
Yeah.
So we brought in an operations manager at the beginning of the year. That was that was not great. So he came out of a dealer and he did not see a reason to do things differently than he had at the dealer.
Mm.
One of our I'm not going to call him a tech trainee because I think that's kind of it's not what it is. But he's a younger tech. He's learning. He's growing. Threw a check engine light at him on a Beamer or a Benz. And it's like, no, that needs to come to me. Oh, no, give it to him. He'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, I went and grabbed a scan tool, set it down in front of him. I'm like, why don't you go take a look at it? You'll figure it out. Well, I don't know how to do that. Neither does he. It's no different.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of things that weren't being done the way they should be done as far as internal procedures with clients. And it really kind of woke us all up to some of the shortcomings not shortcomings, but some of the shortfalls that we made when we moved. We didn't scale very effectively, and I don't think any of us anticipated some of the challenges.
Right.
And it was the same thing when I moved down. Lucas and I talked about a lot of the differences, a lot of the things that were going to be different coming from New York City to down here. The really important ones we didn't even think about. And
Yeah.
it was the same thing when we moved. We didn't anticipate a lot of the challenges we were going to come up with. And the personnel's part of it. Scaling overall operations, going from 2.5 bays to 10 bays is it changes things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot more. There's obviously a lot more capacity. There's a lot more balls that have the potential to get dropped. And I'm pretty good at managing, but I struggle to balance between tracking everything and working on what I have in front of me.
Yeah.
That's probably my single biggest thing that I struggle with that impacts the overall shop. I am our testing now. With some of the personnel changes we've made, we're working towards it. But right now, I do 90% of the testing.
Yeah.
So that I become a massive bottleneck for the shop.
Yeah.
So it's, there's a lot of moving parts, especially once you get to the size we're at. And going from where we were to what we have become, it's really challenging to scale that and do it smoothly without, really upsetting the balance and everything, and managing to keep stuff moving still.
Yeah, and I think, like, you and I talked about a lot behind the scenes when you started with Lucas. It was a lot of, you both were in a much smaller scale still triaging cars, right? Like, you could go and check out a car, he could go check out a car. You're feeling problems off of each other, feeling ideas off of each other, and you were getting stuff done. With him being removed from the shop, and he talks all the time and he jokes about, like, you don't want me fixing cars, but really, like, the guy is very, 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 very good at fixing cars and diagnosing cars. And he doesn't, he just kind of sloughs it off. But I mean, when you remove him from completely out of the building most days, and then it falls to somebody else, and we're still trying to run at this increased pace. I joke all the time. I was like, you couldn't, if I was to come down and put on an L&N shirt, like, I'd be doing George's job. We'd have to promote George, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna run the detail bay, because, like, I don't think I could step in and hit the ground at the pace that he would need me to, right? And I just think it's because, not that you guys say yes to everything, but I mean, you have such a high standard of what you're trying to give the customer in terms of an experience and professionalism and everything else, that the bottleneck is a great way, is a very polite way to put it. It is I picture this, like, bag of snow or something hanging right over your head, and it's like drip, 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 drip. And any minute, that bag's going to. And
have you been to the Hoover Dam?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. And it's not, I said it before, Lucas really reinvigorated my interest in the industry, and it's the approach.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thoroughness we provide, we definitely will say no to vehicles.
Yeah.
In some cases, we probably should be more aggressive with that, but it is what it is. They're vehicles on the road. We need to provide a safe, reliable, repaired vehicle at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But we also, with that, have that obligation to tell somebody if they have a vehicle that is not safely repairable, we got to tell them that.
Yeah.
And we know that pretty quick. We get it up in the lift. If half of the car is still on the ground, that's a clue.
Yeah.
Or we put it up and, there's 70 pounds of rust under the car and the lift is hitting bodywork now where it wasn't. Doesn't happen often, but, usually we know pretty quick. It's like, look, we need to make a phone call. We just need to stop, make a phone call and tell them, hey, dude.
Yeah. And because you and I both were familiar with that northern climate kind of car, right? We see a lot of that. We've seen more of it than Lucas, I think, saw before you came down, right? Like,
it's worse here. It's worse here than it was in New York City. They're old down here. In New York, people turn cars over,
I guess,
3 to 5 years. The roads destroy them.
Right.
I mean, we still have people calling us with stuff out of the 90s, but the way they salt the roads down here, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're curing the roads like a country ham down here. It's insane.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, people joke, but up here, like, if somebody hands you keys for a 13 Equinox and says, here, go put it on, like, you just kind of laugh because you're like,
the drive on?
Yeah. Like, well, we don't have a drive on. So, like, what am I doing here? Like, so you're getting really creative with where you're grabbing, because there is no rocker panel left,
Yeah.
Now, my mom drives a 14 Equinox, but I mean, we've been undercoating that thing since it was brand new for her. So, I mean, it's a different thing, like, but people just laugh. But then I see, like, you guys, like, Luke is walking through the yard, and I'm seeing like a mid 90s Ford truck, and I'm seeing like an early 2000s, 450, and I'm like, good God, man, like, that's up here. Like, you wouldn't be able to even open the driver's door on the Ford because there'd be no floor pan for the door to shut against, right? And I say door pan, but that's because, or floor pan, because the sill is pushed in. Sill's pushed in.
They don't need doors. They're optional at that point.
Like,
No, we've had Well, look at the one we did the video on that Super Duty that came from the dealer.
Yeah.
The I think I spent probably an hour and a half trying to get those knock sensors out just to inspect the DPF.
Yeah.
I was doing pull-ups off the wrench. I mean, I'm trimming down, but I'm not a little guy. I'm short, but I'm wide.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, I ended up spending 2 hours to get that particulate matter sensor out, and the bung came out with it. So we're waiting on a bung now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, there's a whole different scale of things down here. The rust is definitely a thing, but there's also a lot of, I tried it first that I in no way anticipated.
Yeah.
It's not as bad on newer stuff, thankfully.
Right.
But it's an element of the simplicity that people perceive out of vehicles. That's left the chat a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's I mean there it's definitely, the shortage and what we need to do to fix it is a multifaceted problem. We could spend the next 6 weeks talking about it.
Yeah, the shortage is a real thing. Like up here, especially, like people, I say it all the time. People don't really believe me, but like every shop in the city is trying to hire a mechanic right now. Every shop, and I'm not. It used to be like every dealer was always trying to hire a tech. Now it's every shop is trying to hire. It is ridiculous, and it's, and there's I find the young people that, and you and I can relate to this because we both have dealer backgrounds, right? And I find that when you get some of the young people to come in and they leave the dealer network and they say they try their hand at an L&N or a kind of shop that I'm at or been at, like we immediately come in and they go like, wow, there's such a culture change and a reprogramming almost, because you know what I mean, right? Like,
oh yeah.
You get the guys that have been in the dealer, and the pattern failure thing is a real thing. And it was like, I never knew how much I relied on it until I stepped out of the dealer world. And then I was like, wow. And it wasn't that I didn't fix the car, but it was like the diag that used to take me 10 minutes, it now took me an hour to finally flesh it out and prove it. Whereas I just knew in 10 minutes at the dealer that, yes, it's that again. But I would have to go and be like, an oxygen sensor code in a GM. I better actually go and do my due diligence and unpin the PCM. And back in the day with the Chrysler, I never, I didn't unpin it. I went down to it. I did my test there. Now, with the way this other stuff fails, you're damn right. I'm unpinning and I'm, doing my checks properly the way I'm supposed to. I'm pulling out my lab scope and calling Brian to say, how do I, what does this mean? Like, I do all that kind of stuff now because
you have to.
You have to, because the safety net of like, well, isn't there with in the independent side. And that's what I find when the young people come out of the dealer thing is they go, they're not dumb. They know very common things. You can hand them a car and they can go out to it and they're going to come in and go, yeah, it's exactly what I thought it would be. Right. But if you try to get them to slow down, that's when I find I have the really hard problem of trying to get them to slow down and learn the process. I think you guys have ran into that too with some of your people that you've had.
Yeah.
But you know where I'm going with this, right? Like it really is.
Well, and the dealer culture, from my experiences with it, is all about volume. It's all about rotating bays as quickly as you possibly can.
Yeah.
The dealer environment gives you a huge advantage in line familiarity.
Mm-hmm.
You can have 50 different badges on the back of a car. Ford, Lincoln, Mercury, when I was there, it was all three.
Yeah.
You got 50 different nameplates. You have 10 different vehicles, if that many. You have 3 or 4 powertrains. You might have 4 different chassis. If you're at VW, you have one chassis of varying sizes.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's very little variation between them. So you have, you can take, whether it's a Flex or an MKX, you can look at it and say, okay, well, it's this.
Yep.
You have a database of stuff. It's all under warranty, so you still have great engineering support.
Mm-hmm.
TSBs are still going to apply, and not to say they don't apply in what we do, but software TSBs, those are up there because they exist, but by the time we see it, they've already been done.
Yeah.
TSBs rarely, they can give us some headway or some direction, but they're rarely going to be the be all end all cause of an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're
Unless
not
it's a
going to fix
BMW cooling TSB.
Yeah, you're not going to fix a 420 DTC on an 8-year-old car with a software flash. You know what I mean? Like you and I saw that the car was 3 months old and there was an update for 420. They're just changing this, they're changing the window, right, of what we look at it. We ignore it at this temperature, right? Because otherwise it's going to flag it. You know how it goes. But you would see those cars now 8-9 years later. I can remember seeing them in the aftermarket and I'm like, well, there's a bulletin. Crap, that bulletin was written like 2 years after the thing was built. Like this is now 10 years old. It's probably not going to need that software flash. Like it's a good thing to put down on the work order and say, as per bulletin, blah, 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 would recommend, but you're still quoting the cat, right? Because it's going to, not necessarily quoting it. Let me back up. You're still interrogating the cat like you should be interrogating the cat. Where back in the day at the dealer, right? We whipped that sucker in here. We did the software update. We kicked it out the door. We didn't do any Yeah, we didn't do QC on that after because we knew it's under warranty. That's the first step that they would want to be done anyway. But now when that car is like, nobody's seen that car at a dealership in 3 years, it's a much different process. And that's where I struggle with some of these kids that I've seen come out of the dealer is like trying to get them to slow down to go fast is really tough, and proper road tests. Oh my crap. Like I road test. I'm same as you. I spend so much time in the seat driving cars just to get familiar with what the data looks like or what the car feels like or operates. Cause I'm driving everything now. I'm driving Mercedes, Volvo, like BMW, more Volkswagen than I ever wanted to ride in. Is this normal or not? Right. And then it's like, okay, maybe I got another one. So I get another one off the lot and drive it. Like back to the dealer thing, right? 3 chassis. You knew what they felt like, drove like, sounded like, held the road, like all of that stuff. You knew all of that. By 3 months in. Now,
if it took that long.
Yeah. Now it's like, my God, like, I don't know what's normal. No, they just all ride like that. Like you get into some of this stuff and you're like, people drive these? Like it drives like shit, like bumpy, clunky. Oh yeah. It's like driving a Jeep, like.
Oh yeah. No, last week it was funny. I was going through, so I keep track of what I work on. Like every vehicle, I have a spreadsheet that I track just so I can keep track of where I'm at.
Right.
I had one day I went from a Jeep Patriot to a BMW X5 to an S class Mercedes to an F450 to an F150. It's like, damn, we have just covered just about the expanse of my kid's life in year spread. And it's like, yeah.
And the budget restraint. You know what I mean? Like that Patriot, way different than the S Class and way different again than the 250,
Yeah. Or any of them. I mean, but throwaway vehicles, planned obsolescence, that's something that we hear thrown around a lot. I don't necessarily subscribe to it wholesale.
No.
I think there are certainly cases like Nissan CVTs where that's probably a thing, or just stubbornness. I tend to keep the fluid and just replace the transmission. It's easier. But, you look at the impact that's had on CVTs in general. I have never seen a Ford 500 eat a CVT. I've very rarely seen a Subaru CVT fail without help.
Yeah.
If you're towing a 15-foot camper behind your Outback, your transmission is not going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're in mountains, but
I can remember, I'm the same age as you. You can remember the first Saturn CVTs, the first CVTs that went into the but you can remember the first ones that went into the Dodge Calibers and stuff. Like they were problem free for the most part. Like they didn't have issues.
Subarus back in the 80s. The Subarus back in the 80s. The old, what was it, the Brad or the Justy? That was a CVT.
Yeah.
And they were bulletproof.
Yeah.
Then Nissan got involved and screwed it up.
Well, and that's the thing. Honda had CVT for years before Nissan's got their reputation. Like everybody's like, I can remember taking them to trade school and everybody's like, yeah, it's used by a handful of people now. And then when the Nissan thing came along and it didn't matter as long as it wasn't a Frontier or a Titan, it was going to need a CVT.
Let's figure out how to push a rope.
Yeah. And then it was all of a sudden, it was like everybody, the whole industry was like asking, Well, does this type of car have a CVT transmission? Well, sure it does. Yeah, it does. But I mean, it's a GM, and this particular one is not known for issues. Oh, because my aunt has a Nissan with a CV, and she's had 2 transmissions put in. They're like, oh yeah, like
It's a seasonal maintenance item.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now Ford's is PTUs,
Mhm.
but it's such a spread. But that hive mentality,
Yeah.
that's something that I think a lot of the trade schools are not good at.
Hmm.
They'll teach these kids. They're going to come in and they give them horribly unrealistic expectations. You're going to come into this and you're going to make 150,000 a year your first year. Where?
Yeah.
It doesn't say Koenigsegg on the side of the building. I don't know if that's realistic.
No, it's
Um,
not. You know, and again, they can get all their certs that they want. And they can get into, say, they can learn it really fast, the dealership, right? And they can kind of get in and fall in with the right team at a dealer, and they can make some good money their first year, their first couple years. They can, tool debt completely doesn't really swallow them up. But man, like if you try to get them into the aftermarket and do the same thing, it's the idea that they should expect, to make 6 figures within 5 years working in an independent shop is ludicrous to me. It's just like you're only scratching the surface now of what you need to learn. And I mean, coming up through the dealer, man, we were so lucky, you and I, because it was like we could fall on that pattern failure and we could learn,
Yep.
what was problematic for the cars. And when we were writing our estimates, we knew how to do the inspection really well because we knew what to look for.
Well, and
Now,
we had the guys that supported us. We
yeah,
had guys that actually cared. I mean, my team leader at my Ford store, Nick, was awesome.
yeah,
I loved working with him because he was willing to take the time and invest the time in me. Ultimately it helped him, but he was
yeah,
willing to put the time in. And there's so many guys now that refuse to, well, it took me forever to learn this. It's going to take you 10 years. We don't have 10 years.
no,
Take the hour or two a week. That's all it takes. It doesn't take a massive commitment. Out of the gate, it does. I mean, when these kids are green, you need them pretty much zip tied to you the whole day.
mm-hmm,
Every job just became a 2-person job, as
yeah,
awkward as that can be at times. But you have to do it. I mean, these kids today it's not that they're not resilient. It's not that they're not driven. Edit. It's not that they're not driven. It's not that they're not resilient. It's that they've had a different upbringing than us. It's not
yeah,
even that it's been easier. It's just different. We didn't have the resources at our fingertips to be able to look stuff up. We had to research it. We had to go to the library. We had to use an encyclopedia, whatever it was.
yeah.
These kids learn differently, but we can't keep applying the old logic to the new kids coming in because they don't absorb knowledge the same way. They don't process knowledge the same way.
No, they
And
don't.
we have to adapt to it.
They don't memorize anything anymore. Like you and I memorize all kinds of stuff. They don't have to, man, because they just Google or Chat GTP. What's the firing order for a small block shed? 1-843-657-2. You and I have that ingrained in our brains from when we were pups. But they don't have it anymore because they don't need to remember it, right? Like Chat GTP, where's cylinder 6 on, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's the one under the intake. Cool. Like in the time that we would have had to go over and type that up and look it up or pull our phone out and type it into Google, they're asking Google and then they're getting the answer right away. So to think that like they have so many more tools towards them, and yet everybody says, oh, they're inefficient as shit. They're not inefficient. We're just trying to push a rope. It's like you said, we're essentially trying to do that. We're trying to like shove them, and they don't want to be shoved. They want to be not led, but draw me the map of what you want this to look like when it's done, and I'll get there. I'm 100% convinced most of these young people can do it. I've seen them do it. It's the same thing whether they have it in their hands or not. You can still physically identify that. But these kids now, where it's like you can tell that their problem solving is going like this, and they're getting there, but they don't necessarily have this in their hands. But that one that can like see all the gears turning in their head, man, that's an asset to have. That's somebody that like in the old days we would have thrown that kid away, and now you got to build that because like that's the kid that's going to go out and triage cars for you and diagnose cars and test cars and then somebody else will be putting the parts in. You know what I mean? And the next day it's going to be another Eric where they're looking at 3 and 4 more cars and you know.
Well,
So,
and that's we've got to be the ones to adapt.
mm-hmm.
We us old stubborn bastards in this industry, we're the ones who have to change and adapt to to be able to convey what we need to convey in a way they can digest it.
Yeah.
And we're so resistant to do that. I mean, we're all resistant to change, right? Change is uncomfortable. Change doesn't feel good, but we have to do it. I mean, we're driving ourselves into the ground. This industry has spent a century driving everybody into the ground. We have got to stop that. We've got to arrest it and start building these kids up and building up all of it. And you know what? A lot of shops are going to die. Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of these shops should not be touching vehicles.
That's an unpopular opinion, though, eh? Like Brian and I talk about that a lot, and it's the truth, though. It really is, you know.
I can think of there's probably 6 figures worth of damage that I have repaired from other shops, and it pisses me off. Not because I don't think it's malicious. Some of it I think is. But it's sheer ignorance and stubbornness. It's unwilling. People are unwilling to evolve and learn and adapt.
Right.
And that creates so many more problems.
And see, I'm still like, and again, people will say that maybe it's a bad attitude or something like that, but I believe like a lot of this, like we say, well, it's not malicious. But at some point, somebody has probably told, I go back to the example of, the shops that still don't have service information. Everybody goes, oh, they don't exist. Yes, they do. I've talked to several young technicians now in my doing this little thing that they tell me all the time they work in a shop that doesn't have service information. And it's like, well, how are you getting through the day? Well, the day for the most part, is like some brakes or some control arms or some tie rods and some fuel lines and brake lines. Like they love seeing those Chevy trucks come in and need fuel lines and brake lines, like because
that
it's
happens.
just it's an 8-hour day, right? They get through the job and you didn't need service information. Like you drew your little diagram on where they go on the ABS module and you didn't ever lose that and done. But when I keep saying this to the people, it's like there are shops out there. And those are the shops we need to see go away because at some point somebody has told them and they've been made aware they need it and they choose not to buy the service information. That to me is malicious. That's operating in the arena with the intent of not, I don't want to say play by the rules, but you know what I mean? Like not meeting the minimum, I guess is a better way to put it than meeting.
Well, it's racing to the bottom.
Yeah.
It is racing to the bottom. I can do it cheaper because I don't have to pay for this. I don't have to pay for this. I wish the U.S. would implement something like the Red Seal program you guys have up there?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It hangs on my wall. Yeah. Yeah. There's my tree number and everything. Like,
we need that down here. I hate to say it, and I know that's a really unpopular thing to hear, but we need it. If you we had a vehicle not too long ago. Some dude put Amazon LEDs in. It raised holy hell with the car.
Yeah.
It had ADAS faults. It had ABS faults because of light bulbs.
Yep.
Because it was backfeeding through the stoplight switch and it was giving the ABS all kinds of bad information. Like I have never seen something like that. And I have a feeling that's not the last time I'm going to see that.
No. And, the apprenticeship thing is great because I say this. When they come out of it, they can't sit down in the interview and say that I've never been exposed to this level of technology or I've never been exposed to these fundamentals because it's at that point, it's just a bull-faced lie. Like if they went through and did the program, somebody sat them down in a classroom and taught them it. Now, if they chose not to pay attention and they didn't get it, then they didn't get it. And that's on them, right? But it's crazy to me how immediately when we start to talk about that, this industry could really benefit from that and everybody immediately puts their hands up and go, I don't want government involvement in this. And I hate to say it, but you know what? It may not be the government that's going to involve it in the U.S., but it's going to be, you don't want the other option, which is going to be the insurance companies that is going to force you to do it. And I think we're on this very tipping point right now where the industry either needs to come up with something and adopt it and implement it, or the insurance companies are going to do it because like people will not tolerate cars that are not calibrated properly from an ADAS system and having accidents out there. People are gonna go lawsuit crazy, and you're gonna see it's gonna cost one shop and then another shop, and then we've already seen it happen in the industry, right?
Yep.
With the key cases. So it's not necessarily an apprenticeship thing. It's a more of a basic level of competency that goes above ASEs, because right now you can't even talk about ASEs without people getting offended and pissed off and saying, well, I let my somebody you and I know very well have a big platform and are doing a wonderful thing for the industry. Theirs aren't valid anymore. They let them expire because they saw no point to keep them. And that says a lot about the quote unquote benchmark within the industry. If you see some of the sharpest minds in the industry right now going, I let mine expire, because it was just like, it wasn't, the people that came in didn't even ask about them, didn't know what it meant, didn't care. We have to, because it's still the same thing. If I tell somebody I'm a mechanic in Canada, they go, oh, you're still a Red Seal mechanic. Like, they know what that is. You know what I mean? Like, and I think the States is going to have to get something like that going eventually, because otherwise people are just going to be, they don't ask, oh, you're ASE certified? Like we in the industry do, but the public has no idea what that means. Oh, you fixed
They don't
cars.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they don't care because the value in it is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with, you just triggered something. Wow. And it left.
When we were talking about the ADAS and the
Right. Yeah, so, like NASTIF is something that a lot of people hate, but the people that are usually, not always, there are some cases that I know of people that should absolutely be able to be credentialed and aren't.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of people complaining about it, in my opinion, are probably contributing to the reason why we need it. If you do an alignment, you do a 4-wheel alignment on something and don't recalibrate it, you just set that car up for an accident.
Mm-hmm.
If you're mixing it and matching tires, you just set that car up to do something really bad. If you don't understand these things, and I don't think that's all, sometimes you're in that situation, the single mother of 17 kids who blew a tire and is trying to get home 300 miles away. Sometimes, yes, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You have to do the right thing. We're here to serve people, and we have to do that. But we have to do that in a safe, ethical way.
Mm-hmm.
This fleet mentality of, hey, I got a set of brake pads, but only one wheel's grinding. Can you just put the one pad that's worn out in? Like, you kidding me?
Well, and
people do it.
And going back to my tire story, so that young lady that had the blowout, the rest of the story is she came into the shop with now her all seasons that are on the rims, right? Ready to put on the car, all 4 of them. And I'm looking at the advisor going like, what's going on here? Like, well, she can't afford a new tire right now. Okay. So what did we tell her we're going to do? Oh, we're told her we're going to put her all seasons back on. I'm like, we're getting a blizzard today. Like, do you really think that that's the right thing to do? So what do? We end up putting one all season on the left front and the other 3 snows are on the car. Now, I'm not trying to advocate and say that that's the right thing to do. I'm not defending it. At the end of the day, the customer is in charge, right?
Yeah.
And unless I want to reach into my pocket and buy this girl 1 tire so that she has 4 snows on her car, I made the choice that 3 snows in an all season is better than 4 bald all seasons in December in Canada. That's the choice I made. And, so in that sense, I can understand when some people were getting down my throat about making her buy, tire pressure sensors. And listen, I'm not making her do anything. At the end of the day, she left with nothing but a tire installed on the car, right? $40 labor, whatever it was. She left with much more information than when she came in, understanding about how critical that system is to the car. That was my job in having the conversation with her to explain whether it would be ABS or airbag, ADAS, lane departure, any of these systems that somebody would be asking me about. It's my job to inform them about what it means and what it actually is doing and why it's important. If it wasn't important, it wouldn't have been put in the damn car in the first place. That's the part that pissed me off, was so many people then put their hands up and admitted to being unprofessional and saying, I'll disable that system all day long if the customer asks me to. My goodness. So then where do we draw the line? A customer can come in and say, I really don't want an airbag to go off in my face when I'm in an accident because like I've heard it does really bad damage to the, my teeth and stuff. So I'd like you to take that relay out, Eric.
Well, the steering wheel is going to do more damage.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not
like
yeah, oh no, it absolutely. And I think that's a lot of that comes from the mentality of the client's always right.
Yeah.
The client is not always right.
No.
We have, like you said, we have an absolute duty to inform them of what the long-term implications are. It's no different than when you have an intermittent problem, right? You have an intermittent problem, you have a code, but you can't duplicate it.
Mm-hmm.
What do? Well, we can, right now, this is working. This is where we're probably faulting. I can replace this, or we can wait for it to get worse. What would you like me to do?
Yeah.
And here's the consequences if we replace it and that's not it. We're not doing a freebie to go over it again. There is going to be a charge involved. Now, if we wait for it to get worse, there may not be. Because if I can't duplicate it, I can't do my job.
That's right.
So, but we have to inform. We have to make sure people are aware of what we're playing with.
Yeah.
And if we don't know what we're playing with, we have to figure that out before we can go up there and say anything.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah, she doesn't know what she's driving. Like, she doesn't understand the true reality of what, so I'm taking pictures of the sidewall of her tire and see these tiny little cracks that are already in here now. People might have said, Jeff, you're nuts because she's driving around with now build date 2013 tires on the car, right? That, or she could have put on build date 17 all seasons on the, back on it to drive around in Christmas time. I made the choice to do what I felt was the best thing for if my daughter was in the shop, and she was to call me and say, Dad, what do I do? I would, 100% the same thing as what she did. That's how I treated that interaction. And that's how we have to. Sherwood said to me the other day, he says, what we have to do is do what's right. And that sounds such a simple, kind of answer. No kidding, Jeff, you got to do what's right. But it's so big what that really entails when we say what has to do what's right. And it's not, we don't get off scot-free when we say we do it right. Sometimes we just still get it wrong.
Oh, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But you have to advocate, like, you got to do what's right. Not what pays the best, not what gets the car out of here fucking faster. We have to do what's right.
No, and that's, at the end of the day, our job is to serve the clients.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're the professionals. They don't know, they know what the logo says. They know what the net model is, maybe. Mm-hmm. But we know how it works. We understand how it works, and we understand what the implications of shortcutting or half-assing a repair is. We know what that means. They don't. We have to inform them. Yeah. We have to give them that service. That's why they're coming to us. We're professionals. Yeah. We know better than they do, and we, if they're telling us something that's not right, then we have to push back on that.
Yeah,
politely.
But I don't love the fact that she can go onto Facebook Marketplace and buy 13-year-old tires. I don't love that.
Used tires should be illegal, in my opinion. There's always that caveat situation. Like I said, the single mother of 37 kids who had a blowout and needs to get home, whatever. If I can do something ethically without putting a 20-year-old tire on the car, chances are I might have an old tire that's not damaged, it's just worn down.
Yeah.
But if I don't, I'm not gonna compromise somebody's safety to make $20 or $30 on something. I mean, that's, at that point, go get a tire from wherever, and I will put it on for you. I won't charge you for it.
Yeah.
Evil words to say. I'm not going to charge you. You're in a situation. You're in a bind. You legitimately can't afford to have me do something. You know what? I'm going to get you safe so you can get to it. Mm-hmm. It's not fixed. It's not correct, but it is less likely to cause you a problem. It is in better condition than when it left.
And I think that's why this industry's gotten to where it is, because we've always, like what you just said, well, I'm going to go and buy a tire for that customer then, right? And here's the thing. In this industry, we've never operated effectively enough where we could do that every time that it needed to be done. So we make the compromise. Okay, I go get an old tire, but it's not as bad as what's on there. And I charge you some money and I put it on. And you feel good because, like, I saved you some money. And I feel good because I got some labor. I got some money generated, right? I didn't do this wasn't complete charity. Charity is a funny thing because like sometimes the right thing to do is to be charitable and give them the tire because the standards would be anything else would be a compromise on safety.
Yep.
But at the same time, charity is the big reason that this industry is where it's at from a standpoint of, you know, so many people have only bought themselves a job. You know, they opened up a business and they just bought themselves a job. They didn't actually get to build a lucrative is the wrong word. People don't like that word. They haven't built a fulfilling, you know, scalable, flourishing, constant growth business. They'd never built that. They bought themselves a job. And I don't know, I'm not smart enough to know what the right thing to do is, but I know I've seen too many things that were compromised on what was right to make a little bit of labor to know that it's still being done too much.
In cases where it's something dangerous like that, I will happily donate my time to get somebody safe. I'm on the same roads these people are.
Yeah.
You know, if I put a vehicle out there that's dangerous, now I'm compromising my safety, my family's safety. You know, and it's not, I mean, I don't do that all the time. That's not a frequent thing.
Yeah.
You know, extenuating circumstances sometimes require extenuating reactions to it. And it's not, you know, obviously, like you said, we're in business to make money. I mean, that is the goal of the business. But I think in some cases, we do have a responsibility to go a little above and beyond that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if we see something, say something or do something about it. You know, I mean, we have a bad reputation globally as being shady, shitty people. I think that is slowly starting to change.
Yeah.
But it's going to take time to rebuild that, you know, and I definitely don't subscribe to charity. I mean, I don't like doing free work. Nobody does. But we've got to be able to justify what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need to be charging more. Every shop on this planet needs to be charging more. I don't think tech should be working for less than $100 a year.
Yeah.
The way, you know, between inflation, just cost of living in general, even before inflation.
Yeah.
You know, I know guys that are still working for 10, 12 bucks an hour, and it makes me want to punch their boss in the face.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, tool bills, we've mentioned a couple times. Beyond basic hand tools, I don't know that I think tech should be buying the tools. Lucas has worked really hard to convert me on that.
Yeah, it's tough, eh? But I mean, when we see what Benji was able to put together for his guys, you know, at Frog Pond, and we've seen some of the other, you know, our friends in the industry, what they've been able to do. I make the challenge that, like other than maybe bringing in like
the very basics
in the extreme world, I'd like to see coming forward is that like they walk in with maybe, you know, a set of wrenches, a half-inch electric gun and some sockets, and you know, a couple pairs of pliers, and I think the rest becomes like the torque wrench. I think should be a shop tool so that it gets calibrated every 3 months, and it's you know, we know that it's untested. Somebody just talked about, you know, in the groups they had an Icon torque wrench, and the car almost lost a wheel because it was off of calibration. You know, like that happens. I mean, I'm not. People are like, oh, listen, you know, it's an Icon. Come on, dude. Go look at that Icon torque wrench. It looks like the same one that Precision Instruments makes for Snap-on and Mac and Matco and everybody else. It's the same damn torque wrench. It's made by Precision Instruments. Where that got off is obviously it's probably had a ton of use already, and nobody's checked its calibration ever, you know? So those kind of things, like we need to be providing the young people, because it's then just, it takes the stress off of like, where do I spend my money to make this next purchase? Because we can go down a whole rabbit hole of where I think like a lot of the predation that happens from tool vendors now is not a good thing. But when we set these young people up for success with what the tooling responsibility taken care of, I think they can get back and focus now on actually learning how to use the tools properly.
No, of course. And that goes back to, you know, reading the service info and understanding what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's such a, you know, the other thing that we're taught in the dealer is chasing the symptom. What's the symptom? I try and teach my guys, okay, you know what the symptom is. Now forget that. What is the system? What is the entire system doing? Who's in charge? Who's reacting?
Yeah.
Who's making decisions? How are they making decisions? What is the entire system doing? Now what can make it do that? What's not right?
Yeah.
And that's something that is not taught in trade schools. It's not taught in a lot of places. Everything is chase the symptom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to discuss my recent experiences with chasing the symptom because they haven't been good.
Well, I can remember. Well, and Sherwood just shared that perfect example. It was on this video, and I mean, because I talked to him the other day, or before he'd released the video, and he was talking about one of his techs in it was a BMW or Mercedes class or something like that. 100 miles an hour, the car would go in the limp, and they chased it down to this module, and the module was like acts like it's got a direct short. Okay, cool. He does his test, module shorted, gets another module. And it ended up being that there was a pin somehow inside the module, back and behind where the connectors would plug in, had worked its way over and was touching another pin. Right? And this is the replacement module that they got. This is what happened as soon as they plugged it in. The code was initially the complaint came in, but it started having something different happen. And everybody's like, what's going on here? What's going on here? And that's where, when we're taught to chase the symptom, right, we get blinders on and we get tunnel vision, and we're very much like we're running the test as that would, we can see it in the service information. We're not able to not slow down and think about, how does this all just work as one big system? What happens here? And I think that is just a culture thing, like, because, and Sherwood's lucky, like those guys are lucky. They can all go to Sherwood. There's never, oh my God, I can't believe you don't know how to do this. Oh my God, I can't believe, like, this customer's going to be freaking out. Oh my God, like, my parts, I'm never going to be able to. There's none of that ever. It's like, okay, let's slow down and look at what's actually happening here and why. Yep. And what's a different way to, somebody, Check Engine Chuck just put a video up showing it. It was so simple. Every time the customer would turn the wipers on, it would blow the fuse in the fuse box. And, the guy had been dealing with this issue in his truck for 2 years, and somebody, and literally, what does Chuck do? He just takes the wires out of the box, puts a new fuse into the box, turns it on, and it still blows the fuse. Cool. Dead short and tip him,
tip him?
Yeah. Well, see, we don't sometimes break it down that simple, Eric, to just be like, just think about it like this, do it like that. It's like somebody's going, oh, now get your meter out and do this and do that. There's nothing wrong with that method. But like, his method was so fast, because like, he goes through the process of like, taking the pins out. And you and I back in the day would have been like, snip, new fuse, ding, tip them, done, right? Like, we wouldn't have unpinned it. Are you crazy?
Oh,
cut that off.
There's different schools of thought at work there. I mean, we're coming out of that flat rate environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's the quickest way you can do it.
Yeah.
If it has a reasonable chance of finding the fault, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And then if you screw up and you have to repair it, now that's on you because you made a bad call.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that's got to stop. I mean, guys have to be allowed to make mistakes.
Yes.
How did we learn 90% of what we know? I have broken more shit than I can count. I mean, ask Lucas about me and Mercedes wheel bearings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or power stroke fuel heater fuses. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, I remember that one. But even Brian Pollock tells me about the cars that like haunt him still. He's got one sitting on the lot. You know what I mean? Like those. Sherwood and I had that conversation about that Nissan that was in that video that was 17 months at his shop. 17.
Oh, the hood latch?
Yeah, the hood latch.
Yeah.
Like if you had to put Sherwood or anyone else on that car in that environment and said, this has got to go by weekend or day end or whatever, by after lunch, that thing's got to roll. Think about what we're doing to ourselves when we say that. And I understand what it is because we've set the expectations that, yeah, Mrs. Smith, it should be a pretty routine thing. And, like we're going to, and, should have a call for you by the afternoon or something. But there are cars, frankly, that just don't friggin' want to get fixed. And we need to be understanding in this industry. And it's not a situation of like, we don't want to fix them. We just have to we need to become a lot more honest and upfront and better with communicating to the customer sometimes, that it's just like, I just can't make this happen. And, I'm sorry that we wasted your time. I'm glad that we didn't waste any of your money. Here's your keys, and thank you for the opportunity to, have our teeth kicked in on your junky vehicle.
Look at my Mini with the knock sensor.
Dude, right? Yeah.
And now that one has water intrusion, so it's now sitting on our lot, and it's like I have to drive by it every day, and it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
That was 2 years of my life in that thing.
And is it up in the air as to what's going to happen to that car, or is it customers wash his hands of it?
So I've got about a half case of 556 and 300 blackout that I would like to find its way into that car.
Yeah.
I think he's getting rid of it with the water intrusion. I mean, we've got mold growing inside of it. It stinks inside. So
yeah,
after we got the knock sensor fixed, it died. And I was...
And like, you're not responsible for the water intrusion. That's just a mini BMW, Mercedes-Benz, name any Euro car. That's just a freebie side effect, Like
yeah, but why couldn't it happen 2 years earlier?
Yeah, well,
It's a fishbowl looking for a place to get filled up.
Say, listen, you get a free aquarium with every European-built car. It's just a matter of time, right? We get them too, and it's like, I get in some stuff and I look up and it's got a headliner, like a headliner stain and a sunroof. And I'm like, shit.
Nope.
What do I do? And I go out and I tell the, service writer and the salespeople that it's like, hey, and we can make two choices there. We can take it apart and investigate further, or we can hope that it was fixed under warranty. Yeah. And, and then it's like, because ultimately the customer, like we sold stuff that doesn't have a working sunroof. We tell the customer flat out, it doesn't have a working sunroof. And they're like, why not? And they're like, well, when we first got it in here, it was leaking water. And we managed to get it sealed up and it's tight now. But we have disabled the power to it so that you can't open it. So, if you're good with that, you're good with that. You get a nice view still, but you're not getting the aquarium effect that you would, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that conversation with that Mini and that customer go? Like, is he pretty understanding of what he's got, or?
He was. I was speaking with that client quite a bit through that process. And we're fortunate. He's a very good client of the shop, very long-term client, has a lot of vehicles.
Yeah.
And he was with us every step of the way through that punishing lesson in humility and learning how to use Vista. So it was just like, look, we've got water damage in here. This is one of those things that is very degenerative. We can go after what I have now. We're going to have more problems. This is not going to stop. Yeah. We can get all the water out of there. I promise there is dissolved solid material somewhere that is going to cause problems. I can think of 5 or 6 modules right now that are going to fail probably within the next year or two on this because of that.
Yeah.
So how much further do we want to go with this? And he asked what I thought. I'm like, honestly, at this point, I hate to say let's pull the plug because this car and we're on a first name basis, but I can't feel good telling you to put more money into this car at this point.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard discussion to have. I mean, I don't envy those talks, but I'm going to be honest with him. I'm going to be straight up with him. I mean, I told him a couple times into the knock sensor thing, like, look, I don't know where to go from here because we've replaced the entire system.
Yeah.
I will go as far as you want me to go with this. I don't like getting beat, and I am not going to get beat by this thing, but I don't have a realistic timeline on when it's going to be done.
Yeah.
And then finding the water in there, I mean, that was the worst feeling in the world. I got in the car and I knew as soon as I got into it, I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Tell me my feet stink or something. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we found the mold back in the back, and I'm like, oh. So
yeah, they're a car that when I see them come in, I hate them. Just Minis, I just hate them. They look cute
They're so much fun to drive. That's the worst part. They are so good to drive when they're working.
Yeah, they are. I know. I met a young lady that I think I blew the first date because she had one in the driveway, and when I walked in, I said, "Oh, is that yours?" Yeah. And then I proceeded with my rant about, why I thought they were terrible and junk. And oh my God, I can't believe that you could afford that on your salary and all that. Foot in mouth, you know what I mean? Like completely take the potential and just stomp it to the ground. The whole story of why she has the car is because when she was a young girl, her dad had one of the original old Minis, as did my father way back in the day. So she had always had all these memories of the original Minis, and wanted to have one. And then I felt like a real dick for saying all the things because you realize that's not a Mini, right? That's a BMW, and what that's saying about you when you buy, all the stupid things that I shouldn't have said, right?
Yeah, I had to have that talk with my mom. My stepfather's from Ireland, and same thing. Grew up, had a Mini, had an MGB, which picturing him in that is adorable. But he had a Mini, and my mom called one day. She's like, "Yeah, we were thinking about getting a Mini. I thought I was going to have an accident because I was choking on my drink as soon as she said that." I'm like, "Well, lease it,
yes,
for less than the warranty." Yeah. Well, no, he wants to get one to buy. No, he doesn't.
No,
I promise. No, he doesn't.
Yeah,
it's not what it used to be. It's a different car. It's a Beamer.
Yeah.
So that was it didn't make them happy, but now they drive Subarus and they're very happy. So
yeah,
win-win.
Still getting fun car to drive, just not when it has a quirk. It's not a quirk that's like a $10,000 quirk. It's like a couple $1,000 quirk. Like it's yeah, and somebody in the family that's very likes working on them. Like that's the plus.
Yeah, right.
When I met this girl and it was like, I'm like, oh shoot, like I just it was just bad. It was just bad. It was all the way around. I should have just never. She knew I was a mechanic, and it was like, oh shit.
She was planning ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So I shot my foot. I put my foot right in my mouth with that one. So, what's the goals for 2026 for you and L&N and everything else?
So I think increasing our productivity, increasing our efficiency. We're starting to revamp more meaningfully. We're starting to work on some of our processes, and so Lucas has had to take over a lot more responsibility at the family business.
Yeah.
So Jade has taken over most of the management duties down at the shop, and we're trying to find our rhythm. Jade and I work very well together, which is awesome. But we're trying to kind of get things structured around achieving our goals in a way that we can execute it meaningfully.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of kind of strategizing and planning. I want to get all the guys in the back. I want to get all of them through their ASEs. Cool. At the end of 2026, I want all of them A1 through A8. I want to get through my L1, L2, L3.
Nice.
I know they don't have a lot of value with the client, but I still think it's a good thing to have. I still think it shows commitment to me. It's like college. Half the degrees you get aren't useful, but it shows you have the commitment and the drive to continue working towards it. The biggest one for me is I want to build up our training plan and our methodology for getting the guys trained and get everyone on a regimented training plan that's going to be beneficial to them, beneficial to the shop, and get everybody growing forward.
Yeah. Because you guys, you've got a strong team, for sure, but you can always tweak things a little bit more, right? And I mean, and it's only to everybody's benefit. I'm the same way. Like everybody, I'm not anti-ASE. I'm just like, because it does say something, right? Like now, my thing up here with my license is that like I have to have that to be legal to even touch a car. That's just the way it works in Canada. Now, could I get hired without it? Yes. But it's kind of like if I'm in the shop and somebody from the government was happen to walk in and ask, I have to run out the back door and hide. And, because if they catch me doing it without it, it's a big deal. ASEs are not like that in the States. And that's where I don't necessarily want and advocate for the U.S. to have to go to that level, but it will come to that level, I think, at some point where if you're, removing a steering wheel, you need to have some kind of understanding about what you're actually touching before you're allowed to touch it. And there's too 100%. Many people right now, you can see them on social media and they're in a parking lot or a driveway somewhere and they're yanking a steering wheel off to do something. And I'm not saying that they don't or do or whatever, qualified or not, but we know that a lot of them probably aren't. And they're not killing anybody right now. They're not killing themselves when they're doing it. But it's not necessarily, we know that car is not leaving and running over to some place to be ADAS calibrated, right? It's the the clunk in the steering column's fixed now and they're happy. They're good. They're laughing. Perfect. The car's fixed. It's only
what happens when the guy pulls a bag off and kills himself.
Yeah. I know. Or what happens if, like they pull on it, there's certain, man, I had a Ford that fought me getting the airbag off. And to the tune of we ended up damaging the steering wheel and had to buy the steering wheel because it wouldn't clip in when we were done. And, and that's something that we're getting that car ready to be for sale. It's no compromise. I can't sign it that way. So yeah, I screwed it up because there's a whole long story I'll tell you after. But it's different when we're doing it that way in a shop versus somebody somewhere who's saying, hey, don't worry about this. I know that the airbag's kind of moving around a little bit now, but the clock spring's still working and the light's not on, and so you're good to go. And somebody,
it's a Claymore.
Yeah, you and I know what happens with that, right? It's not a good scene, But what's the challenges you see for the rest of the support staff at L&N for 2026?
I think balancing
a team, but Scotty and George and
oh, you better edit that out.
Oh shit.
No, he doesn't get the 2 T's. Apparently, he's not tall enough, according to him. And the Y on the end, I'll let you handle that one next time you're down. But no, I think just growing and scaling everything and managing to keep up with the workflow. We've got to increase. We've got to increase what we're putting through the shop.
Yeah.
And that's on George and Scott both. That's a huge load. So being able to work together collaboratively to make their jobs easier and remove as many roadblocks as we can through scaling the processes and scaling our procedures is going to be huge for everybody. It helps. The front counter is the first place it helps, but we've all got to work together to support each other.
Yeah.
So
I think you guys are above average in being able to do that. That's been always the times that I've been in your shop and watched the magic unfold or chaos ensue, is that, for the most part, it's always you guys are running up the hill together. You know what I mean? That's what I've always seen. And that's what I appreciate. Cause you and I have been in some places where it ain't like that.
No, not at all.
You've been pushing a car in and, watching guys stand there, watch you push the car in. We've been in places like that. That's when Sherwood and I were talking, it was when they go to push a car in at the shop, he says, we have more people out in the parking lot than we need. Because it's just, everybody is that tight knit kind of culture of everybody wants to make, all hands make light work. And he says sometimes he has to say, no, go back inside and fix that car. We've got enough people. But he says that's so much easier to deal with that problem than to deal with the other side of the problem. And that's where it comes back. We'll close this out on culture. When we pay our people a certain way, or we value them a certain way, we look at them a certain way, there does come at a compromise for culture within the shop if we choose to see it that way. And you can say, well, at the end of the day, we still get done and my numbers are this. That's cool. No, I'm not saying it's the wrong way. But there are some caveats that come that make the challenges there. You know what I mean? We're all just naturally the way we are. I think a lot of us are competitive. And I'm not necessarily going to stand on my coworker's head to keep them down. But I'm not necessarily going to put my hand out every time either, right? If I'm in that competitive nature. You know, it's just the way humans are wired, unfortunately. And I think that that's something we got to go forward to. I think if we could have where all hands, you know, somebody drops a rifle, immediately somebody else is picking that rifle up and grabbing them by the belt and saying, you know, we're just going over that hill there, keep going. When we have that mindset, that's a much more powerful team than a team that's like trying to compete against one another. You know,
what's good for the collective is good for the individual.
Yeah, brother, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here.
Definitely, man. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's always a good time. I enjoy your weekly rants. I can't wait to hear them. So, you know, and I
awesome.
mean, we need to do more of this next in the new year. I think we need to try and get into some kind of. You and I talked about it, like we're once a month that we talk about like something that kicked our ass, or you know what we're fighting through. Or I think it's, you know, I don't get to go to work with you every day, but I feel like some days like I'm part of the team.
Oh, you absolutely are.
And
you're absolutely part of it.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes it's like, it just keeps me connected with you guys is what so going forward. I think we need to do that once a month or once every quarter or something. We sit down and have this kind of conversation. Cause I think that there's some good examples that you guys can share that sometimes maybe don't, you know, when it comes from Lucas is it hits a certain audience, and when it comes from you, it hits a certain audience. And that's what I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, you've got a lot to offer the people that are listening. And I think that that's why I need to continue to have you on a lot more. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. It means a lot.
Thank you. I mean, you've been an awesome, you know, you're my brother. I mean, you've been an awesome support for me since jump with this crazy thing. And I mean, you know, it's like some days I have to pinch myself and go, holy crap. Like, what the hell was Lucas thinking? You know,
I ask myself that every day.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got
everybody unique.
Yeah. He's got everybody convinced he knows what he's doing. You and I know.
He is a savant when it comes to some of this stuff. The way he does things and the way he approaches things is so unique and so needed in this industry. I mean, it's, you know, I'm here till retirement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm here till I drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do the same thing.
That's a strange thing to say, people. Like when you're listening, you hear a technician say that. That's powerful because I've never heard another person say with enthusiasm that I'm here until I drop. I'm here until I retire. Like they might say like, fuck, this is all I have. This is my only option. Yeah. But Eric's not saying it that way. So, you know, if you can think about in your business how to build that, that's the magic sauce, people, right there. You can get your people to think that and want to be that way, that invested, then you've got it figured out. So everybody, Happy New Year to everybody. I don't know you're going to get this after New Year, but it's almost New Year. And, you know, enjoy the turkey, enjoy the New Year's celebrations. Don't indulge, don't drink and drive. Don't let your friends drive European cars. And we'll see everybody in 2026.
Take it easy.